All right, hello everybody. My name is Guillermo Nunez, and today's presentation is going to focus on the life and contributions of Karen Horney. She is one of the most influential psychoanalysts analyst of the 20th century. In this project, I'll highlight the major milestones of her life, discussing six key world events that influenced her work, and analyze how both her personal experiences and historical context shaped her psychological theories. Horny's story is one of the most courageous independence and intellectual transformations I think I've seen. So, first slide is going to be hitting her major life milestones from 1885 to 1952. So, Karen Horney was born in 1885 in Blankenese, Germany. She faced a strict religious father and an emotionally distant mother, which created early feelings of insecurity, an experience that later inspired her idea of basic anxiety. From 1906 to 1911, she studied medicine at the University of Berlin, becoming becoming one of the first women in Germany to pursue this field. During this time, she married Oscar Horney and had three daughters, which influenced her understanding of women's social roles and emotional conflicts. In the 1920s, she began teaching at the Berlin Psychoanalytic Institute, where she was initially aligned with Freud's theories, but later grew critical of his emphasis on biological drives. And in 1932, she immigrated to the United States, escaping the rise of the Nazi regime. This move marked a turning point in her career as she began emphasizing culture and social context over instincts. So between 1937 and 1942, she published two of her most influential works: The Neurotic Personality of Our Time and Self Analysis. She passed away in 1952 in New York City, leaving behind a legacy that reshaped modern psychology. So, our third slide is going to be hitting some of the global events that shaped her thinking. So, the world around Karen Orney was changing rapidly, and these changes directly shaped her thinking. So, during World War One, she witnessed widespread fear, loss, and instability, experiences that helped her understand how anxiety and helplessness can influence personality. In the 1920s, the women's rights movements inspired her challenge to Freud's concepts of penis envy and to argue that women's feelings of inferiority came from cultural oppression, not biology. The rise of the Nazi regime in 1933 also forced her to flee Germany, which deepened her belief that society and culture shape psychological development. World War II further expanded her insight into aggression and human conflict. The post war rise of psychoanalysis in the United States provided her with a platform to promote her new social and cultural theories of neurosis. And then finally, in the 1950s, post war era, focused on humanism and self help, which helped her align perfectly with her belief that individuals can achieve growth and self awareness through understanding their inner conflicts. So the fourth slide is going to be hitting the theory of personality and anxiety. So Karen Orney's theories redefined psychoanalysis by focusing on relationships, culture, and self-understanding. She introduced the concept of basic anxiety, which she defines as a deep feeling of isolation and helplessness in a hostile world. So to cope with this anxiety, people develop what she called neurotic needs, 10 irrational strategies like seeking approval or striving for power. Orney also identified three main coping orientations: moving toward people to seek affection and approval, moving against people to gain control and power, and moving away from people to achieve independence. She believed that these coping strategies developed when our childhood environment fails to provide love and safety. Another major contribution was her concept of feminine psychology, where she argued that cultural expectations, not anatomy, are responsible for women's psychological challenges. This was revolutionary for her at the time and paved the way for feminine psychology. So the next slide is going to be hitting uh, some from her insecurities to insights. So Orney's theories were deeply rooted in her personal experiences. Growing up, she felt very unwanted and emotionally neglected by her father, which led her to crave affection and validation. She struggled with depression throughout her life, especially after her mother left her father, and later after her own marriage ended in divorce. These personal struggles helped her empathize with patients who felt unloved or anxious. Her early experiences also convinced her that emotional security is one of the most important needs in human development. From this belief came her idea of basic anxiety, the fear of being isolated in a world that feels unsafe. Her personal pain became the foundation for a more compassionate and human centered approach to psychoanalysis. Next, we're going to be hitting some of the impacts of war and migration had on her. So, historical events also had a major impact on Orney's perspective. Living through two world wars exposed her to the widespread of suffering and psychological trauma of humanity. The instability and violence of the era reinforced her belief that external social conditions, not just inner drives, but determine psychological health. When she moved to the United States, she encountered a culture that valued independence and self expression. So, this new environment inspired her to focus on personal growth and cultural context rather than rigid Freudian ideas about instinct. In America, Orney founded the American Institute for Psychoanalysis, where she trained others to apply her humanistic ideas. So she emphasized that therapy should empower patients to analyze themselves and achieve self awareness, a concept that later inspired humanistic psychologists like Carl Rogers and Abraham Maslow. And then, oh, sorry about that. And then some of the legacies and impacts that she left behind. So Karen Orney's influence continues to shape modern psychology. She founded the American Journal of Psychoanalysis in 1941 and helped establish a more compassionate, growth oriented model of therapy. Her books, including Self Analysis and Our Inner Conflicts, encouraged people to explore their unconscious motives and take responsibility for their emotional well being. So, Orney's theories about gender equality and self empowerment inspired future generations of feminist scholars. She also influenced the development of humanistic psychology, which focuses on personal growth, authenticity, and self realization. Today, her work remains foundational in understanding anxiety, culture, and identity, making her one of the most forward thinking voices in psychology still today. And then these are some of my references that I used for the slideshow. Thank you very much.